The phone call was supposed to end 15 minutes ago. Simone Carter sat frozen at her kitchen table, her hand gripping her cell phone so tight her knuckles had gone white. Through the speaker, she could hear her husband Derek's voice clearly, but he wasn't talking to her anymore. He thought he had hung up. He had no idea she was still listening. "I'm telling you, man, I can't keep doing this," Derek's voice crackled through the phone. "Living like this, pretending everything's okay. Simone doesn't know, but I've been thinking about it for months now." Simone's heart stopped. The coffee mug in her other hand began to shake, sending ripples across the surface of her morning brew. Outside, the Atlanta morning sun streamed through her kitchen windows, but suddenly everything felt cold. "What about Nia?" came another male voice, Derek's brother Marcus, she realized. "You can't just walk away from a 7-year-old. "That's the thing that's killing me," Derek continued, and Simone could hear him pacing. She knew that sound, his footsteps on the hardwood floors of his downtown office. "I love that little girl more than life itself. But every day I wake up and look at Simone and I feel like I'm drowning. She deserves better than this fake marriage we're living." Fake marriage. The words hit Simone like a physical blow. Her chest tightened, making it hard to breathe. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of what she thought was love, partnership, building a life together. Was it all a lie? "Have you talked to a lawyer yet?" Marcus asked. "I've got an appointment next week," Derek said quietly. "I need to know what my options are. How much this is going to cost me. How we're going to split custody of Nia." Simone's phone slipped from her trembling fingers and clattered onto the table. The sound echoed through her empty kitchen like a gunshot. Derek and Marcus kept talking, unaware that Simone's world was crumbling with every word they spoke. She stared at the family photo on her refrigerator, Derek, herself, and Nia at last summer's family reunion, all smiles and genuine laughter. Or at least she thought it had been genuine. Derek had his arms wrapped around both of them, his smile wide and warm. Nia was missing her 2 front teeth, grinning wildly at the camera. Simone remembered that day so clearly. Derek had spent hours playing with Nia and her cousins, pushing them on swings, teaching them how to skip stones at the lake. How could that man be the same one talking about divorce lawyers and custody arrangements? "The hardest part is that she's a good woman," Derek was saying now. "Simone's beautiful, smart, successful. Any man would be lucky to have her. But I'm just not happy anymore. Haven't been for a long time. We're like roommates who share a kid. We go through the motions but there's no real connection left." Simone felt tears burning behind her eyes, but they wouldn't fall. She was too shocked, too numb. She thought about last night. Derek had come home from work, kissed her cheek like always, asked about her day, helped Nia with her homework. They'd watched Netflix together on the couch after Nia went to bed. It had seemed normal, comfortable. But apparently Derek had been acting the whole time. "What triggered this?" Marcus asked. "Did something happen?" "Nothing dramatic," Derek sighed. "That's almost worse. If we'd had some big fight or betrayal, at least that would be something concrete. This is just, we grew apart. We want different things. She's always talking about having another baby, and I can barely handle the life we have now. She wants to buy a bigger house, take family vacations, build this picture-perfect life. And I just feel trapped by all of it. Another baby." Simone's hand instinctively moved to her stomach. They'd been trying for 6 months. Every negative pregnancy test had been a small heartbreak for her, but Derek had always consoled her, told her it would happen when the time was right. Had he been lying about wanting another child too? "Look, I know this sounds cold," Derek continued, "but I'm 34 years old. I've got maybe 40 good years left on this earth. Do I want to spend them pretending to be happy? Or do I want to find someone who actually gets me, who wants the same things I want?" "And what about what Simone wants?" Marcus asked. "Have you even tried marriage counseling?" "She'd want to fight for this marriage, and honestly, I don't have the fight left in me. I've already checked out mentally. It wouldn't be fair to her to go through months of therapy when I already know it's over." Simone finally picked up her phone with shaking hands and ended the call. The sudden silence in her kitchen was deafening. She sat there for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, staring at nothing, trying to process what she just heard. Derek didn't love her anymore. Derek wanted a divorce. Derek had already started the process of leaving her. And he hadn't even had the respect to talk to her about it first. She looked around their kitchen, with Derek's coffee mug still in the sink from this morning, his reading glasses on the counter, the grocery list they'd made together stuck to the refrigerator with Nia's artwork magnets. Everything looked the same, but nothing would ever be the same again. The front door slammed upstairs. Nia was home from her sleepover at her cousin's house. "Mommy?" Nia's voice called down the stairs. I'm home. Can we make pancakes? Simone wiped her eyes quickly, even though no tears had actually fallen yet. She had to pull herself together. Nia couldn't see her like this, couldn't know that her daddy was planning to leave them. Not yet. Coming, baby, she called back, surprised by how normal her voice sounded. As she climbed the stairs to greet her daughter, one thought echoed in her mind. Derek thought their marriage was over. But he had no idea that Simone Carter wasn't the type of woman who went down without a fight. 3 days had passed since the phone call, and Simone felt like she was living in a different world. Everything looked the same on the surface. She still got up at 6:30, still made Derek his coffee with 2 sugars and a splash of cream, still kissed him goodbye as he left for work. But now every interaction felt like she was watching herself from the outside, like an actress playing a role. Derek had no idea she knew about his plans. He came home each evening, helped Nia with homework, asked about Simone's day at the marketing firm where she worked. He even brought her flowers on Wednesday, yellow roses, her favorite. The same Derek who had told his brother he was meeting with a divorce lawyer. These are beautiful, she had said, accepting the bouquet. What's the occasion? Do I need an occasion to buy my wife flowers? Derek had smiled, kissing her forehead. The gesture that once would have made her heart flutter now felt like salt in an open wound. Was this guilt? Or just more of the acting he'd apparently been doing for months? Now it was Saturday morning, and Simone stood in her walk-in closet, staring at her reflection in the full-length mirror. At 32 she knew she was still beautiful. Her dark skin glowed with health, her natural hair was styled in protective braids that framed her face perfectly, and her curves filled out her jeans in all the right places. But looking at herself now, all she could hear was Derek's voice saying, "Any man would be lucky to have her, but I'm just not happy anymore." "Mommy, are you ready?" Nia appeared in the doorway, dressed in her soccer uniform. Saturday morning games were their tradition. Derek usually worked, so it was just the 2 of them cheering on Nia's team. "Almost, sweetheart. Go grab your water bottle and cleats." At the soccer field, Simone tried to focus on Nia's game, but her mind kept wandering. She watched the other families, couples sitting together on folding chairs, fathers coaching from the sidelines, mothers sharing snacks and gossip. Had any of them been through what she was going through? Did any of these smiling wives know their husbands were secretly planning to leave them? "Great save, Nia," she called out as her daughter blocked a goal attempt. Nia beamed and waved from the field. "She's getting so good," said Carmen Rodriguez, another soccer mom who sat down beside her. "My Sophia is jealous of how fast Nia runs." "She loves it," Simone replied automatically. "Derek keeps saying we should sign her up for track too." Derek. Even when he wasn't there, he was part of every conversation, every plan, every thought about the future. How was she supposed to untangle 7 years of shared life? How was she supposed to tell Nia that Daddy might not be living with them anymore? After the game, she and Nia stopped for ice cream at their usual spot, a small shop downtown that made the best peach cobbler sundaes in Atlanta. They sat at their regular table by the window, and Nia chattered excitedly about the game. "Did you see when I almost scored? I was so close. Coach says if I keep practicing my left foot kicks, I'll score next week for sure." "I saw, baby. You're getting so strong." "Daddy said he might be able to come to next week's game. Do you think he will?" Simone's stomach clenched. Where would Derek be next week? Would he still be living with them? Had he already found an apartment? "I don't know, sweetheart. Daddy's pretty busy with work right now." Nia nodded seriously. At 7 she was already learning that grown-up responsibilities sometimes got in the way of fun things. It broke Simone's heart to think that soon Nia might be learning much harder lessons about how grown-ups could disappoint you. That evening, Derek was unusually attentive. He cooked dinner, his famous barbecue chicken that Nia always devoured. He played board games with them after dinner, making Nia giggle with his silly voices when he read the cards. He gave Nia her bath and read her 3 bedtime stories instead of the usual one. Was this guilt too? Or was Derek trying to store up memories before he left? After Nia was asleep, Simone and Derek settled on the couch to watch a movie. Derek picked a romantic comedy, something they used to enjoy together. Simone sat curled against his side, breathing in his familiar cologne, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Everything about this moment should have felt perfect. Instead, she felt like she was holding on to something that was already gone. "You're quiet tonight," Derek said, running his fingers through her braids. "Everything okay at work?" The question was so normal, so caring, that Simone almost broke down right there. How could he ask about her day like he genuinely cared while secretly planning to divorce her? "Just tired," she said. "Long week. You've been working too hard lately. Maybe we should plan a vacation." Just the three of us. Remember how much fun we had in Savannah last year? A vacation. Simone wanted to scream. How could he talk about future plans when he was already planning to leave? Was this more acting? Or had Derek changed his mind? That sounds nice, she managed to say. But later that night, as Derek slept peacefully beside her, Simone stared at the ceiling and faced the truth she'd been avoiding for 3 days. Derek hadn't changed his mind. Men didn't meet with divorce lawyers because they were having temporary doubts. Derek was leaving her, and he was just waiting for the right moment to tell her. The question was, what was she going to do about it? She thought about her parents, married 35 years before her father passed away 3 years ago. She thought about her grandmother, who had raised 6 children and stayed married for 52 years despite more hardships than Simone could imagine. The women in her family didn't give up on their marriages easily. But they also didn't let themselves be blindsided by men who had already checked out. Simone slipped out of bed quietly and padded to the kitchen. She made herself a cup of tea and sat at the table where she'd received the worst news of her life 3 days ago. She had a choice to make. She could confront Derek directly, demand to know about the lawyer and his plans to leave. She could wait for him to work up the courage to tell her himself. Or she could take control of her own story. By the time the sun came up, Simone had made her decision. Simone had never been the type of woman who went through her husband's phone or checked his email. Trust had always been the foundation of their relationship, or at least she thought it had been. But desperate times called for different measures. Derek left for work every Monday at 7:30 sharp. Nia's school didn't start until 8:15, which gave Simone 45 minutes of opportunity. She waited until Derek's car disappeared around the corner, then went straight to his home office. Derek was organized to a fault. His desk was neat, his filing system color-coded, his computer password the same one he'd used for years, Nia's birthday plus their anniversary year. Simone's hands shook as she typed it in, part of her hoping it wouldn't work, that she was wrong about everything she'd overheard. The computer unlocked immediately. She started with his email, searching for anything related to lawyers or divorce. What she found made her stomach drop. Derek hadn't just made an appointment with a divorce attorney, he'd already had 3 consultations with different lawyers, comparing their fees and approaches. The most recent email was from someone named Janet Morrison at Morrison Family Law, confirming a meeting for this Thursday at 2 p.m. But the emails went deeper than just legal consultations. Derek had been researching apartment complexes, looking at one-bedroom places about 20 minutes from their house. Close enough to share custody of Nia, far enough to start fresh. He'd even toured 2 places, based on the confirmation emails in his inbox. The worst discovery came when she checked his browser history. Derek had been visiting divorce support forums, reading articles about how to tell your child about divorce, and starting over in your 30s. One bookmarked article was titled, When Good Marriages Go Bad, How to Know When It's Time to Leave. Simone printed the most important emails and documents, her heart breaking a little more with each page. Derek had been planning this for at least 2 months, maybe longer. While she'd been thinking about baby names and planning Nia's 8th birthday party, Derek had been calculating alimony payments and custody schedules. Mommy? Nia's voice came from upstairs. We need to leave for school soon. Coming, baby? Simone quickly shut down the computer and shoved the printed papers into her purse. She had to get Nia to school and herself to work, had to pretend everything was normal for another day. But at work, concentration was impossible. Simone sat through 3 meetings about upcoming marketing campaigns, nodding and taking notes, but her mind was on those emails. Derek had asked one lawyer about uncontested divorce and mediation versus litigation. He was hoping she would make this easy for him. During her lunch break, Simone drove to her mother's house in East Atlanta. Beverly Thompson was tending her garden, something that had kept her sane since Simone's father died. She looked up as Simone's car pulled into the driveway, immediately sensing something was wrong. Baby girl, what's got you looking like that? Beverly asked, wiping her hands on her gardening apron. Simone had planned to keep Derek's plans secret until she figured out her next move. But seeing her mother's concerned face, everything came pouring out. She told Beverly about the phone call, the emails, Derek's secret apartment hunting. Beverly listened without interrupting, her expression growing more serious with each detail. When Simone finished, they sat in silence on Beverly's front porch swing, the same swing where Simone had told her mother about her first heartbreak, her college acceptance, her engagement to Derek. How long have you known? Beverly finally asked. Almost a week. And you haven't said anything to him? What am I supposed to say, Mama? Hey honey, I accidentally overheard you planning to divorce me. Want to talk about it? Beverly sighed deeply. Baby, I watched your father try to leave me twice in 35 years of marriage. Both times, I had a choice: fight for what I wanted or let him walk away without a word. Simone turned to stare at her mother. Daddy tried to leave? You never told me that. First time was when you were about Nia's age. Your father was going through what they call a midlife crisis now, though we just called it being foolish back then. He thought the grass was greener somewhere else, that he was missing out on something better. I could have let him go, could have made it easy for him to run. What did you do? I reminded him what he was giving up. Not just me, though I was worth fighting for, but the family we'd built, the life we'd created together. Sometimes men get so focused on what they think they're missing that they forget to see what they already have. Simone felt a spark of hope. And the second time? That was about 5 years before he got sick. We'd grown apart, gotten caught up in work and raising you, and just forgot to tend to our marriage. That time I didn't fight for him to stay. I fought for him to remember why he fell in love with me in the first place. How? Beverly smiled sadly. I reminded him who I was before I became just wife and mama. I started taking those art classes I'd always wanted to try. I joined a book club, started going out with my girlfriends again. I stopped making his problems my problems and started focusing on my own happiness. Funny thing, when I stopped chasing him, he started chasing me again. They rocked in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching neighbors come and go from their daily routines. What are you going to do, baby girl? Beverly asked. I don't know yet. But I'm not going to just wait around for Derek to work up the courage to leave me. If my marriage is ending, I'm going to have some say in how it happens. That evening, Simone watched Derek carefully during dinner. He seemed relaxed, even happy, as he told them about his day at the architecture firm. He helped Nia with her math homework, patiently explaining fractions with slices of apple. He complimented Simone on dinner, asked about her presentation at work tomorrow. Was this the behavior of a man planning to leave his family? Or was Derek just better at compartmentalizing than she'd given him credit for? After Nia went to bed, Simone made her move. Derek, can we talk about something? He looked up from his laptop, where he'd been reviewing building plans. Sure. What's up? I've been thinking we should see a marriage counselor. The color drained from Derek's face so quickly that Simone knew without a doubt that everything she'd overheard was true. A counselor? What? Is something wrong? His voice was carefully neutral, but she could see the panic in his eyes. Nothing's wrong, she said calmly. I just think it would be good for us to have someone help us communicate better. Make sure we're still growing together instead of growing apart. Derek stared at her for a long moment. Do you think we're growing apart? It was the perfect opening for honesty, for putting all their cards on the table. Instead, Simone smiled and said, I think every marriage can benefit from a tune-up. Like taking your car in for maintenance before something breaks down. Derek nodded slowly. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have someone in mind? I'll do some research and find someone good. Someone who specializes in helping couples reconnect. Okay, Derek said, but he looked like a man who'd just been asked to schedule his own execution. As Simone got ready for bed that night, she felt something she hadn't experienced in a week: control. Derek might have started this process, but she was going to finish it on her own terms. Dr. Patricia Williams had kind eyes and a warm smile that immediately put people at ease. Her office in Buckhead was decorated with soft colors and comfortable furniture, designed to make difficult conversations feel safer. Simone had chosen her carefully, a black woman therapist who specialized in marriage counseling and had stellar reviews online. Derek had agreed to the appointment, though he'd seemed nervous all week. He'd worked late 3 nights, claiming a big project deadline, but Simone suspected he was just avoiding being home, avoiding her. The tension between them was growing thicker by the day. Now they sat on Dr. Williams' couch, Derek fidgeting with his wedding ring, Simone outwardly calm but internally bracing for what was about to happen. So, Dr. Williams said after they'd completed the introductory pleasantries, what brings you both here today? Simone looked at Derek expectantly. This was his chance to be honest, to tell the truth about his feelings and his plans. Maybe this could still be salvaged if he was willing to be real about what was wrong. Derek cleared his throat. Well, Simone thought it would be good for us to, do a check-in. Make sure we're on the same page about things. Dr. Williams nodded. That's very proactive. Many couples wait until they're in crisis before seeking help. How long have you been married? 7 years, Simone answered when Derek hesitated. And you have children together? One daughter, Nia. She's 7. Dr. Williams made notes on her pad. What would you say are the strengths of your marriage? Again, Derek looked to Simone to answer first. She felt a flash of irritation. Even here, he was going to make her do the emotional work. We have a beautiful daughter together, Simone said carefully. We both work hard to provide for our family. We've built a nice life in Atlanta. Dr. Williams turned to Derek. What would you add to that? Simone's a great mother, Derek said quietly. She's smart, successful, beautiful. Any man would be lucky to have her. The familiar words hit Simone like a slap. He was using the exact same language he'd used with his brother, when he'd been explaining why he wanted to leave her. I notice you're speaking about Simone rather than about your relationship, Dr. Williams observed gently. What do you value about your marriage specifically? Derek was quiet for so long that the silence became uncomfortable. Finally he said, we're compatible. We want the same things for Nia. We rarely fight. Rarely fighting can be a strength, Dr. Williams said, but it can also sometimes indicate that partners aren't communicating about important issues. Do you feel like you can talk to each other about difficult topics? We communicate fine, Derek said quickly. Simone almost laughed at the irony. They were sitting in marriage counseling because Derek couldn't communicate that he wanted a divorce. What about intimacy? Dr. Williams asked. Physical and emotional intimacy are crucial components of a healthy marriage. Simone watched Derek's face carefully. This was getting into territory where his lies would be harder to maintain. We're going through a bit of a rough patch in that area, Derek admitted. How long has this rough patch been going on? A few months, Derek said, looking at his hands. More like a year, Simone corrected, her voice still calm. Maybe longer. Dr. Williams looked between them, clearly sensing the undercurrent of tension. This is actually very common. Life stresses, work, parenting, financial pressures, can all impact intimacy. The important thing is that you're here willing to work on it together. Derek shifted uncomfortably. Dr. Williams, can I ask you something? In your experience, is it possible for people to just grow apart? Even when there's nothing specifically wrong? Absolutely, Dr. Williams said. It's one of the most common challenges I see. Partners can drift apart gradually, so slowly that they don't realize it's happening until they wake up one day feeling like strangers. And when that happens, Derek continued, his voice barely above a whisper, is it possible to find your way back to each other? This was it, Simone realized. Derek was asking if their marriage could be saved because some part of him was hoping the answer was yes. With commitment from both partners, absolutely, Dr. Williams said firmly. But both people have to want to do the work. Both people have to believe the relationship is worth fighting for. Derek looked at Simone, then really looked at her for the first time in weeks. She saw confusion in his eyes and pain, and something that might have been hope. Derek, Dr. Williams said gently, what do you need from this marriage to feel fulfilled? The question hung in the air for a long moment. Simone held her breath, wondering if this was when Derek would finally tell the truth. I need to feel like we're partners, he said slowly. Like we're building something together instead of just existing in the same space. I need to feel like Simone sees me as more than just a provider, more than just Nia's dad. Simone felt her heart crack open. Is that how you feel? Like I only see you as a provider? Derek's eyes filled with tears. Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I could be any man as long as I brought home a paycheck and helped with homework. That's not true, Simone whispered. Derek, that's not true at all. When's the last time we talked about something other than Nia's school or the mortgage payment or what needs to be fixed around the house? Derek asked. When's the last time you asked me about my dreams or my fears or what I'm thinking about late at night when I can't sleep? Simone opened her mouth to respond and realized she couldn't remember. When had they stopped being curious about each other? When had they stopped being friends? This is exactly the kind of conversation that can help rebuild intimacy, Dr. Williams said. You're both being vulnerable about your needs. That's brave and it's necessary. But what if it's too late? Derek asked, his voice breaking. What if we've drifted so far apart that we can't find our way back? Simone looked at her husband, really looked at him, and saw not the man who had been planning to leave her, but the man who was afraid he'd already lost her. The man who was asking if their love could be saved. It's not too late, she said firmly. Derek, it's not too late unless we decide it is. For the first time in months, Derek smiled at her with genuine warmth. You really believe that? I believe in us, Simone said, and meant it completely. I believe in our family. I believe that what we built is worth fighting for. Dr. Williams smiled. This is exactly where healing begins, with both partners choosing to fight for their relationship instead of giving up on it. As they scheduled their next appointment and prepared to leave, Simone felt lighter than she had in weeks. Derek took her hand as they walked to their cars, and the simple gesture felt like a promise. She had made her choice, she was going to fight for her marriage. And for the first time since that awful phone call, she believed she might actually win. 6 months later, Simone woke up on a Saturday morning to the sound of Derek's laughter coming from the kitchen. She smiled before she was even fully awake. That sound had become music to her ears again. The past 6 months had been the hardest and most rewarding of their marriage. Dr. Williams had guided them through difficult conversations about intimacy, communication, and the dreams they'd stopped sharing with each other. They'd learned to see each other not just as co-parents and housemates, but as individuals with hopes and fears beyond their shared responsibilities. Derek had never mentioned the divorce lawyers again, though Simone never told him she'd known about them. Some secrets she'd learned were meant to be forgiven rather than confessed. What mattered was that Derek had chosen to stay and fight for their marriage instead of running away from it. Simone padded to the kitchen in her pajamas and found Derek making pancakes while Nia set the table with their good dishes, the ones they usually saved for holidays. "What's the special occasion?" Simone asked, wrapping her arms around Derek's waist from behind. "Do we need a special occasion for Saturday morning pancakes with my 2 favorite girls?" Derek grinned, turning in her arms to kiss her forehead. "Daddy's making them in heart shapes," Nia announced proudly. "And he said we can have whipped cream." "Living dangerously, I see," Simone teased. "That's the new me," Derek said with a wink. Derek the risk-taker. Derek the pancake artist. Derek the man who remembers that life is supposed to be fun. It was true, Derek had changed in beautiful ways over the past months. He'd started taking art classes on weekends, something he'd always wanted to try but never made time for. He joined a volleyball league with some guys from work. He'd even started writing in a journal, working through his feelings instead of keeping them bottled up inside. Simone had changed too. She'd accepted a promotion at work that she'd been too scared to pursue before, afraid it would take time away from family. But Derek had encouraged her to go for it, and now she was the regional marketing director, traveling sometimes but loving the challenge and growth. They'd also started dating each other again, actual dates, not just dinner out when they couldn't think of what to cook. Derek surprised her with tickets to see Alicia Keys in concert. Simone planned a weekend getaway to Charleston, just the two of them while Nia stayed with Beverly. They talked about books, movies, current events, dreams for the future. They remembered why they'd fallen in love in the first place. "Mommy, guess what?" Nia said as they sat down to eat. "Daddy said maybe we can get a puppy." Simone raised her eyebrows at Derek. "Oh, did he?" "I said maybe," Derek laughed. "If we can prove we're responsible enough to take care of one." "We're responsible," Nia insisted. "I always remember to brush my teeth and feed my goldfish." "Most of the time," Simone corrected with a smile. They ate their heart-shaped pancakes and planned their day. Derek had a volleyball game at 11, but he'd be back in time for Nia's soccer game at 2. They were all going together now. Derek had rearranged his Saturday work schedule so he wouldn't miss any more games. After breakfast, while Derek got ready for volleyball, Simone found herself looking at the family photos on their refrigerator. There were new ones now, pictures from their Charleston trip, from Derek's art show where he displayed some of his paintings, from Nia's school play where she'd been a very dramatic tree. "Whatcha thinking about?" Derek asked, coming up behind her. "Just how much has changed," Simone said, leaning back against his chest. "Good changes?" "The best changes." Derek wrapped his arms around her tightly. "I'm sorry it took me so long to figure out how to be a better husband." "I'm sorry it took me so long to figure out how to be a better wife," Simone replied. "We both had some learning to do." "Think we figured it out now?" Simone turned in his arms and smiled up at him. "I think we're getting pretty good at this marriage thing." "Good," Derek said, kissing her softly, "because I plan on practicing with you for the next 50 years or so." "Only 50? Simone teased. "Fine, 60. But that's my final offer." They were interrupted by Nia running through the kitchen, soccer cleats in one hand, water bottle in the other. "Come on, you two. Stop being mushy. We're gonna be late." Derek and Simone laughed, breaking apart to grab their keys and sunglasses. As they loaded into Derek's car, all three of them together like a family, Simone thought about that terrible morning 6 months ago when she'd overheard Derek talking about leaving. She'd been so afraid that day, so certain that her marriage was over. But sometimes the worst moments could become the beginning of the best changes. Sometimes you had to almost lose something to remember how much it meant to you. Derek reached over and took her hand as they drove to the soccer field, and Simone squeezed back. They'd chosen each other once when they were young and thought love would be easy. Now they'd chosen each other again, older and wiser, and knowing that love was work, but work that was worth doing. Behind them, Nia chattered excitedly about the game, about her friend's birthday party next week, about whether they could stop for ice cream afterward. The sound of her voice filled the car with joy and possibility. Simone looked out the window at the Atlanta skyline, at the city where they'd built their life together, where they were raising their daughter, where they'd learned to fight for their love instead of giving up on it. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jasmine. "How are the lovebirds doing today?" Simone typed back quickly, "Better than ever. Turns out some things are worth fighting for." As they pulled into the soccer field parking lot, Derek turned to her with a serious expression. "Simone, there's something I need to tell you." Her heart skipped for just a moment, old fears dying hard, but Derek's face was calm, loving. "What is it?" "I've been thinking about what you said months ago about wanting another baby." Simone's breath caught. They hadn't talked about expanding their family since starting counseling, both of them focused on healing what they already had. "And," she whispered. Derek smiled, the smile that had made her fall in love with him 9 years ago. "I think Nia would make an amazing big sister. If you still want to try." Tears filled Simone's eyes, happy tears this time. "Are you sure? Really sure?" "I'm sure about us," Derek said simply. "I'm sure about our family. Everything else we can figure out together." "Yes," Simone whispered, then louder, "Yes. I want that. I want all of it with you." "What are you guys talking about?" Nia asked from the back seat, always curious about grown-up conversations. Derek and Simone looked at each other and started laughing. "We'll tell you later, baby girl," Simone said. "Right now, let's go watch you score some goals." As they walked toward the soccer field, Nia running ahead with her teammates, Derek and Simone walked hand in hand. The Atlanta sun was warm on their faces, the future stretched out before them full of possibility, and their love, tested and proven and stronger than ever, would carry them through whatever came next. Simone thought about the woman she'd been 6 months ago, sitting at her kitchen table with her world falling apart. She'd thought Derek's secret planning meant their marriage was over. Instead, it had been the beginning of their real marriage, the one built on honesty and choice and daily commitment to each other. Sometimes the worst phone call of your life could lead to the best decision you ever made, to fight for love instead of giving up on it. "Goal?" Nia shouted from the field, and Derek and Simone cheered together, their voices blending into one sound of pure joy.